Today on the program, hear this. Federal government cites wrong timing, suspends subsidy removal and targets $5 million from non-oil revenue. Okay, I'm hanging out with Adewale Adeoye. Wale, I greet you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I heard the traffic was a little kind on you.
Quite tough. Quite tough today.
What about Tunji, Bolaji Tunji, I greet you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
The traffic?
Was terrible.
Go to court.
Well, fortunately for me, I'm here. I thought I wasn't going to.
All right. So the team is ready. I hope you are, folks. Okay, to our first story. Nigeria and indeed many other countries across the world are in the throes of a national emergency following the fratricidal crisis in the Sudan. The federal government has said it would prioritize the evacuation of Nigerian women, children, and students trapped in the war-torn country, and why not? Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema and his shadow minister Zubairu Dada disclosed this, relieving news while speaking to newsmen after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting, FEC meeting, in Abuja. The minister said the evacuation was carried out in phases. Many of the stranded folks had been ferried to safety with the help of the Saudi Arabian authorities. The good news is, so far, that no Nigerian life has been lost. Wale, good news.
Well, it's good news for Nigerians, but also bad news for the world. Because as we speak, that war has consumed some 500 lives, and over 3,000 people have been wounded. And there have been 4 attempts at ceasefire that have not succeeded. And again, Africa is facing great turmoil. Sudan is one of the largest countries in Africa and one of the most diverse. In fact, it shares so many historical relationships with Nigeria. It has some 60 ethnic groups. And what we should not forget is that what led to this war, there are various kinds of war in Sudan and in the Horn of Africa. We are talking about Northern Sudan now, which is Sudan, but Southern Sudan just broke away from the same Sudan in 2011, July. And even up till now, Southern Sudan is yet to find peace. So, and what led to this kind of crisis we are seeing? Bad leadership, corruption, inability to manage diversity.
Yeah.
And of course, why Southern Sudan left was that, they felt they were marginalized from politics, they were excluded, and then they took to war. Now we are seeing the same thing happening, in Northern Sudan. And of course, we also need to remember ourselves that Sudan has a kind of historical ties with Nigeria. It was the route that thousands of pilgrims, used to pass through while going to Mecca. So many people settled there of Hausa extraction. A lot of Nigerians don't know this. And today they are in millions, going to almost about 7 million people of Hausa extraction who have been living in Sudan for the past 300 years. And I remember there was a conflict some 3 years ago that they rioted when the Omar Bashi said they are not indigenous to Sudan. So it shows that the Nigerian government should have been showing much interest in Sudan because of the historical ties. And I think the first prime minister of Sudan was an Hausa man, and the vice president under...
Before the breakup.
Yeah, before the breakup. I think Gaffer Nasiri, the vice president, was also an Hausa person, So it shows that for a long time there has been, and they speak Hausa. In fact, almost every part of northern Sudan, you see Hausa settlements. They call them Hausa Sango. So I think Nigeria should have shown interest in that kind of conflict. And the implication is that with this conflict going on in Sudan, many of them will be compelled to return home, irrespective of the fact that the Nigerian government wants to lift Nigerians, modern Nigerians who have migrated as students, or traders. But there are people who are almost indigenous to that place that see Nigeria as their home. So with this outbreak of conflict, many of them will be compelled to move back to Nigeria. So we need to look at this thing from its very, and then the implication, and then to see a comprehensive response to the crisis in Sudan.
Bolaji, Wale is talking about reasons for the crisis in the Sudan. I think poverty, not material poverty, poverty of the intellect is key here.
It's important to realize one fact. Why is it that, although we've had instances of war, strife in other parts of the world, but it's quite prevalent in Africa? We thought we had seen the last of this kind of thing after the Liberian, this other,
Sierra
Leone and all those things. Unfortunately, we are still experiencing this. And like you said, poverty of ideas and the inability to really accommodate each other may probably be the cause of this.
I would have thought Somalia should be the guinea pig here.
Yes.
But it is the Sudan.
Yeah, but even Somalia itself, that we were all hailing, that it's having a little crisis, its own crisis as it is. So there's a problem with the African mentality. Why is it that we cannot accommodate each other? These two generals that are at the forefront of this war, they were working together before, when they took over power. But some people are now saying they are being marginalized. You understand? And this is also a lesson for most African countries. We have to learn and take a cue from this, especially Nigeria. You cannot marginalize people without expecting them to one day stand up to fight for what they believe is their rights. And we have instances of people claiming marginalization in this country. In Nigeria, I'm talking about. So it is very important for us to ensure that our people do have a sense of belonging, that they do not feel marginalized, as is probably happening in Sudan. So it's a lesson.
I like the historical background Wale gave me. It didn't really occur to me. But again, my country, my government, the attitude to things like this is what bothers me. And it gives rise to so many insinuations and conspiracy theories across the country.
Yeah, but the fact is that to some people, Sudan is so far away, but it's not far away, it's Africa. Because whatever happens in any part of Africa affects this country. Because there's no country in Africa today that won't have many Nigerians. How many Nigerians have evacuated over? I mean, it was about 24,000 Nigerians are said to be in Sudan. And there's even a crisis in evacuating some of these people, like we witnessed. Some of them, got stranded in the middle of the desert there because the developers are claiming that they've not been paid.
And on the other hand, we hear money had been paid.
Exactly.
So who is saying what?
That is the problem. And the fact is that did Nigeria send a bus to that place? No. The bus must have been got over there. Because I don't believe Nigeria sent a bus from Nigeria to Egypt. No. From Egypt to
Sudan, Egypt are neighbors.
Exactly.
So I'm saying.
So what I'm saying is that they have got the bus in that country to go and take our nationals from Sudan and bring them back to Egypt so that they could be evacuated to Nigeria by air. But so, if they did that, are you saying that the buses there were not paid before they were mobilized to go and pick these Nigerians? What really happened? And you see, in government, in this kind of situation, if you have a crisis like that, even you need to go and look for that money. It's not about going through doing one paperwork. You can do the paperwork later. There's the need for that emergency fund to be used at that period to solve that problem.
Of the essence. Time.
Exactly.
Time.
That's why you don't do the paperwork. Go and get the money quickly. You can do the paperwork later. Go and get the money and get these people secured. Get them safe before you start talking about anything. So are we now saying that when they did this, when they because we know that's the way it operates. When they went there, didn't they pay the money to these people that are supposed to carry them?
All right. Bolaji, ours is to mold opinion and allow government, in this case, to make a decision.
Yeah.
Good luck. To our next story. An anonymous saying has it that there is a time to let things happen and a time to make things happen. The Southwest Geopolitical Zone has agreed amongst the 6 states to launch regional railway and electricity projects. The Electricity and Railway Act 2023, recently signed by President Muhammadu Buhari, gave vent to the ambitious project. Following from this, therefore, the 6 states agreed to pursue regional power and rail projects in order to speed up economic and social development in the region. It can only get better from here, Bolaji.
Yes. It's a welcome development. But you see, I hope it's not a political statement as usual. Dawn Commission that fronted this conference that led to this decision was set up in order to accelerate development in the southwestern states. And they are pointed to the fact that during that period, in recent time, they've done a lot. For example, the Yamotekun thing was spearheaded by them to that there's a need to have this security outfit because of the kidnapping that was going on in the southwest, which was successfully launched, and in some of the southwest states. Now they have come up with something like this again. It is a welcome development, and this was only possible by the signing of this act by the president, the 2023 act, that allowed electricity to be removed from the exclusive list. And it's a welcome development. And you see, we have to take note of one thing. People who have been talking about the need for the country to be restructured, this is part of that restructuring. People may not realize that, but I think it's part of the restructuring because what used to be the exclusive right of the federal government has now been allowed to go to the states. So, and it's going to help a lot in terms of development. But my fear is that I hope it's not going to be a political statement on the part of this southwestern state. But if they were able to follow up on this, it will accelerate development. It will bring in much more investment into some of the southwest states, especially states like Oyo State that is very close to Lagos State, and even Ogun State there. Ogun State is quite developed, but Oyo State needs that kind of thing. If Osun, dry pulse, everything, So if they have this rail linking some of these states, it will really go a long way in helping.
And more so electricity, Wale. Yeah. 3 major things to do now to accelerate economic development. Yeah. 1 is electricity. Yeah. 2 is more electricity. Yeah. 3, much more electricity. Yeah.
Well, I think just like Bolaji has said, you may say so many things bad things about Buhari's government. And I think I'm one of those people that believe in certain areas, you can start the government maybe F9. But the reality is that since 1999, when you are talking about devolution of power, either consciously or unconsciously, I think we have never had it so good. If you look at what he mentioned, Ebibuagu in the east, Amotekun in the southwest, these are elements of restructuring. And then we are talking about power generation, transmission, and distribution. For the first time since, this country was established. I mean, since the the military era. States are now constitutionally empowered to not just generate, to transmit and distribute electricity. These are landmarks. Then we are talking about aviation.
Let me tease you, Onabasi. It generates no less than 101 megawatts.
Yeah.
But it empties that thing into the national grid. So what comes back home is almost nil.
Yeah, these are the problems. Even in Lagos there was an attempt, by the first civilian administration, the Third Republic, Ashwaju, but that effort was sabotaged. Aaron.
Yeah.
Between 1999 and 2007, the Southwest governors under AD at that time, between 1999 and 2003, they approached a Canadian firm with the hope of setting up railway, regional railway. The government of the government did not allow it to happen.
Yeah.
Even under President Jonathan, even when 24 states had signed amendments, to do some restructuring, because we have about 68 lists on exclusive
68
for federal government
items,
and about 30,
30 on the
concurrent, which does not reflect true spirit of federalism.
Yeah.
So nothing happened from 1999 to 2015 until under this government that states are now building airports, building cargo airports. States are talking about generating electricity, talking about security, and now these efforts are being backed legally. So I think it's a whole lot of achievement. Yeah. In fact, if that is the only thing this government achieved for 8 years, I think we really need to comment, because it's really to go on board with the country. It's going to stifle energy, stifle potentials will be released. If states can have railways and so I think
I was going to say my mind quickly goes back to 6 months before the expiration of former President Obasanjo's regime. About 10 power plants, Balaji, if you remember, were constructed across the country. By today, we should have been close to El Dorado.
Yeah, unfortunately. You see, that's always a problem. You see, someone had once said that in Nigeria, it's not as if we are lacking ideas. Yes. Yeah. We have ideas. We have people that are creative. Unfortunately, is either we have a problem of implementation or problem of the lack of follow through of some of this that we have.
Bolaji, what about mutual suspicion?
Yeah, but you see, mutual suspicion. But the fact is that these are things that will be of benefit to the country. Should we not bury our individual interest, individual suspicion about one person or the other to ensure that what we are doing is good for the country? When once you know it's good for the country, that's what should be the rationale behind every action that we are taking. That anything we do for Nigeria should be of benefit to majority or all Nigerians, not about individual interest, not about ethnic interest, but something that will be all encompassing. That if electricity is good for this country today, it's going to galvanize the economy.
Yeah.
So
the Southwest region has blazed the trail. You expect other regions to catch up?
I think this effort started in 2010 when 2011 March 6, because I was a bit involved when Dawn was launched, in Lagos at the City Hall.
Yeah.
And they came up with a whole lot of documents on regional integration, agriculture, transportation, security. And this effort started, but not much was achieved because there were legal bottlenecks.
Yeah.
You have very good plans on paper, but you cannot just move forward. So I think Don has done a lot, and I'm happy that the state governments are working, with Don. Formerly under Famakiwa, we have Uleye, who's fantastic human beings, who are doing a whole lot of work in terms of collecting data, mapping out the Southwest and, creating the template for regional development. I think it will be very easy for them because the template is already there. I have some of the publications, as far back as 2011. They documented everything, the areas to cover, and even the hubs, agricultural hubs, so many things that have been done in this area. So I think what the Southwest governors need now is the political will. And we to do investment. I believe that, because there is a solid
while the political will, you don't need to import it.
Yeah.
It's already
it's there. Yeah. And then looking at those in power now, I think if I can take them individually, I think they have the political will. The gentleman in the Ekiti State has been part of regional integration, was part of Dawn right from the beginning. So it's not a stranger, to the whole concept. And I think it's anxious. And if you look at some of the statements I've been making, talking about federalism, and talking about development, integrating the entire Southwest. So I think what needs to happen, that South, I think it's Brace or something. South.
Okay, yeah.
So I believe that it's not going to be, it's good. We are going to have it in Southwest, but it's also better that it is extended, other regional blocks also tap into this, so that at the end of the day, it's going to network the entire country. But I think it's a great thing for this country that is worth celebrating.
Bolaji, politics, I hear, is an interest-based business.
Yeah.
But so who is not interested in a country where electricity would be 24/7?
You see, like some of you will say, you don't go into politics because in the name of because of God, because you go because you have a particular interest, And the major problem we always have in this country is those vested interests that will not want things that are of benefit to the general populace to work. For example, now we are talking about generating electricity for the country. Let's not even talk about Southwest now for the country. There are some people out there who are not interested in this thing working because they are importing generator. They are big importers of generator, and once all these things are working, they are out of business. I think one of the things the government should look at, although it's a free economy, is this issue of importation of generating set. Because even if we are getting this thing right, those who are bringing generators into the country will not want it to work because the market, they won't have any market. So it's about interest. It's about what will serve them, these people. But the fact is that we have the general thing, which is for the entire populace, entire country. That look, this is of benefit to everybody in the country. This is something that will serve everybody well. This is something that will galvanize our economy. So let's go for it. Let's do it the way it should be done.
And I would say, on behalf of Journalist Hangout, Godspeed to the Southwest. Okay, to our next story. The trouble with a denial is that when truth comes, you are not quite ready anymore. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, that's the AGF, Abubakar Malami, has dismissed claims that Nigeria lost more than $2.4 billion from an alleged sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil exported to China in 2015. Now, at the resumed House of Reps ad hoc committee probing the deal, the chief law officer of the country described the allegations as baseless, unfounded, and lacking in merit and substance. Malami said his office had filed a criminal suit against individuals who purportedly raised the allegations being investigated. He revealed that the same smart folks had sought to defraud the government with the bogus claims. What happens next, Wale?
Well,
after several invitations, the minister, accompanied by the permanent secretary, is before the legislators. Abubakar Malami apologizes for his inability to honor the committee's invitations and reaffirms his respect for the parliament.
First, let me express my sincere apology, multiple apologies for that matter. First, on account of my inability to be here earlier.
A one-page document is passed to him for his eyes only, and after going through it in silence, says he will not agree to a closed-door meeting.
I'm here for open engagement for the Nigerians to see. I am here on behalf of Nigerians, and I want Nigerians to share in what we are doing for the purpose of transparency and accountability of it.
We are not asking for closure.
I know very well. That is why I'm asking who are they.
Came in,
Yes.
and we feel in the interest of both parties, justice, okay, and to protect the institution of the National Assembly and that of the government of the Federation of Nigeria.
That settled, he provides responses to the numerous questions posed to him in the course of the committee's correspondences to his office. The minister describes the petitioners as a syndicate poised to defraud the nation. He therefore believes the committee should not waste its time on the probe.
A prima facie case of fraud. So this time around, it is not about the recovery of the product, but the fact that these people in contention were fraudulent. They simply were trying to establish a case against the federal government to extort the federal government.
He also insists his office is not in charge of recoveries, but the Minister of Finance, and that all recovered funds are deposited in an assets recovery account domiciled in the Central Bank of Nigeria. The committee seeks guidance in the provision of Section 162 of the Constitution, which states that all government revenues shall be deposited in the Federation account.
Asset recovery account. Because we are assuming on this part, before we conclude, we still want a guide from you, that part of what is causing the misinformation is because maybe the process or the procedure, we have been contravening them.
Yeah. Where you find a breach is if the monies are utilized from the account without recourse to appropriation, without being deposited into the Federation account. And at the end of the day, it's about transparency.
After speaking for more than 1 hour, the committee halts its flow, demanding that its memorandum be made available to be digested for further interrogations. The committee says it has over 700 questions for the minister. Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami still has a date with this committee, and he has promised to make himself available anytime he is needed with necessary information that will assist the committee in the discharge of its assignment. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
Many thanks. Wale, we are living in very interesting times.
Yeah. Well, I think the Minister of Justice is in a position to know what is happening. So we should not dismiss whatever he says. But then, as Nigerians, if you look at precedents, we have so many reasons to doubt, even if what he's saying is true. Because the oil industry is full of all sorts of scams,
It's
including
messy.
the subsidy,
Yeah.
And important people that are supposed to know, including former Emir of Kaduna, former CBN governor, former Emir of Kano, said oil subsidy is a scam. And we have the House of Rep ad hoc committee probing oil subsidy from 2013 to 2021. They discovered that 24 oil companies, the 24 companies cannot be, they can't trace their legitimate, papers. And they are all involved, but funds were paid into their accounts. So the FCC has arrested a lot of people. One, the son of former PDP chairman, taking them to court, 2.2 billion. So there are all sorts of stories weaved around. So what we can say is that the oil sector is a cesspool, it's a sockaway of fraud, corruption, and greed. So what the minister is saying is just something that we still need to prove further. Maybe there are other things that he even does not know. But for us to say we are dismissing, no. But it's not the last statement that I want to hear.
Yeah.
We still need to probe further. And there have been several probes. We want to know what happens to those reports. The white paper release and those that are responsible should be sanctioned. So we cannot just be moving in one circle. Every time we talk about people stealing money, people being arrested by FCC, everything tied to oil. So I think it will come a time that we are really going to open up this kind of oil,
we reconcile all of these to the fact that Wale Bolaji, we are told every day Nigeria's crude is being stolen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the indication is that we know them. They are big boys and big girls. Yeah. We can't touch them. We're in trouble.
That is it.
We're in trouble.
So we hope with the next government, beyond the House of Rep, because some of them may also be, collaborators. So we may need an independent inquiry. We need to probe the oil sector if we are really to unveil corruption, and be able to retrieve funds.
And more than that, I hear when you pour oil on troubled waters, you are asking at this point, what do you pour on our troubled oil? Okay, we'll take a breather here. We'll go on a commercial break. We should be back. Please stay with us.
My name is Giftiro Bremat. I am in Basic 2. I am from Oba Community Primary School 2. The people from Ubek, representative from the Abia State Government, headmistress and teachers from Oba Community Primary School 2, my fellow pupils, ladies and gentlemen, good day. We welcome you to this unique occasion. We thank our President Muhammadu Buhari for the school feeding program. Some of us do not eat while coming to school, but this school feeding has helped us a lot. May God bless our presidents and governors in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Mr.
Are you ready to win big?
Bills to pay.
It's Max Millions.
Give me that money. Pay off bills.
We're giving away 1 million naira to our lucky listeners who win a share of the 1 million naira. Tune in to 102.3 Max FM Lagos and 90.9 Max FM Abuja from 6 a.m. Listen out for the winning song, be the 10th caller, beat the clock, and you could win big with Max Millions.
Money.
Stop. Said stop, 25,000 naira. Come on.
Max Millions, only on Max FM.
All right, welcome back. Still tagging this story, credited to the Attorney General. The Attorney General wants you and I to believe that the $2.4 billion that was said to be missing is a ruse. Tunji, I'm wondering how you react to this.
Well, our powerful Minister of Justice, Aneji, has spoken. Well, you see, unfortunately, that is always the style in this country. Someone at his level will just come and start bamboozling us that say, oh, this is a lie, there's nothing, no substance to this thing. On what basis are you giving us this assertion? Why are you premising this? What are the basis? What are the investigations you have done? You see, people will just not sit down and make a claim like that. There could be, it may not be up to that, but there's for every smoke there's a little bit of fire. So what I expect the Attorney General to say is we are going to do a further probe about this matter. We want the person that made this claim, who is a whistleblower, to come with more evidence for us to help us in our investigation. Not that they are going to take the guy to court. They are going to prosecute the guy. If you prosecute a whistleblower, whistleblower is supposed to be protected.
So what's the essence?
Exactly. Why is he a whistleblower again? Because he's supposed to be protected, because he gave you information. It is not for you to go and do further investigation, further probe. But if you do that, if you say you are going to prosecute him, you have discouraged people that would likely want to give us information about certain things that are inimical to the interests of this country. So I disagree with the Minister of Justice. I think the minister should not say there was no substance to that. I think what he should do is about doing a further probe, that we should further probe this thing, but we are inviting information. We are looking for, if this man can supply more information about his claim, we appreciate it. You know that you are going to prosecute him.
Wale, are we damned?
Well, I think we...
what I mean is, are we damned to the extent that things will not work in this country?
I don't want to believe that, because there are historical references that we have proved to the whole world that we can run our affairs. If you look at the achievements, you know, when we had regional system of government, you know, when Nigeria was reference point for the whole of Africa, and in fact, the whole of the entire black world, when countries like Malaysia, Singapore were compared to Nigeria, the GDP, you know, even by UNDP figures, was, you know, far high, you know, higher than, you know, many countries in Europe, in Eastern Europe, and even Asia. And we are talking about the time that Naira was equivalent to, I think about 1 Naira to 70 kobo. I mean, one pounds to 70 kobo. You know, so that time maybe
kobo to $1.
When, you know, people will come to UNA to pick graduates when they are in their final year. Nigerian graduates were hot cake all over the world. Indians were coming here to attend secondary schools. You know, Ghanaians were coming here to...
South Africans were here.
South Africans were here.
Was making
so
money.
Nigerian professors were like, you know, gold. All everywhere they go. Not now that we are going to... You want to send your children to the best school, you take him to Togo. Or you take him to Ghana. So we are down. But I think we should not be hopeless. Because at the time...
you know, when Bolaji will remember this, a former British Prime Minister, David Cameron, said openly, and our president was in the audience, if the amount of money stolen from Nigeria in the last 30 years was stolen from the UK would have ceased to exist.
Yeah, we are fantastically corrupt.
Yeah.
That is the expression.
Oh, yeah, that's what he said.
I believe with a good leader, you know, it took some good leaders to change Singapore, to change China. China was a backwater country until 1949, that since eventually changed. And, you know, China rose to be a world power. So we just need that single person with a good vision, who is selfless, who is committed, who is transparent, who is determined to deal with rogue cartels that are everywhere all over our country.
Especially in the oil business.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our last story. You know, very few Nigerians would, many Nigerians, I should say, will not forget January 1st to January 16, 2012, when we had a cross-country rate of riots that was provoked by the subsidy removal announced by President at that time, Goodluck Jonathan, if you remember. Now, successive governments had been cautious about the removal of subsidy. Information, Lai Mohammed says it would lead to chaos and instability at this time. Fuel subsidy remains a burden on the country's lean resources. There's a window of opportunity in the non-oil sector. The government expects to net $5 million in this sector. Bolaji, is Bolaji pleased about this?
Well, the first subsidy is a recurring decimal in Nigerian politics, polity, you know. And for what has been said, there are so many things that are so shrouded in that you can't really understand. You know, Wale says something.
The Yoruba man says it's a conundrum.
yeah. Wale says something. We had instances of proofs in the past where people were found to have been guilty of collecting this money without doing anything. What became of them? We have said it here. We had a particular period in this country when there were attempts to remove subsidy, and there was nationwide protest, riot. But they are now saying this thing must be removed. I don't have any problem with that because, like I said, it's shrouded in mystery, conundrum, and nobody knows what's really happening there. We only know that there's serious corruption in this subsidy regime. So if they are going to remove this thing, they are going to remove fuel subsidy. My own take about it is that why do you want to remove it when we are going to swear in a new administration by May 29? Why not wait and even if you have anything about fuel subsidy removal, no problem, give it to this administration. These are the suggestions. Because there's going to be a handover note. Why not wait for them? Rather let them come in and let them handle the matter the way they want to handle it. Giving them, you can give suggestions, you can give ideas. That look at these are the things in your handover note. But the fact is that you just less than 2 months to spend. So why not let another administration come in and handle this matter and say you have increased worker salary? This is what we call banana peel in government. Why not allow this government to come in? Because if you remove subsidies today, it's going to create a lot of problem. Because right now in some states in this country, maybe I'll just stay there, a liter of fuel is about 220 naira up to now. In some place, anywhere, maybe outside Ibadan, which is the capital of your state, is about 240, 250. You understand? Now you remove fuel subsidy. How will people in those areas cope? It's going to be a major problem.
Wale, but yes, I grant what he has said, but must we kick this can along the road?
Well,
this subsidy can, we're kicking it like a child is kicking.
Well, I think one thing that I'm happy is that the decision that the current regime will not, remove the subsidy, because we already have subsidy in the budget up till around June this year.
Yeah.
So what excuse do we have to remove subsidy at this moment? And if you are a landlord, a tenant, that you are leaving the house, why should you now be talking about changing the foundation and other? So I think the best thing is that we should give you a befitting send-off. Your primary occupation should be looking at what you have done and then how you are going to, not about what kind of shares are we going to have in the room, are we going to rebuild the house and all that. Because subsidy, oil, anything oil, has to do with the pillar of the economy. If you tamper with the subsidy removal and all that at this moment, it's going to affect stability of the incoming government. Legi Mahala has been elected by Nigerians, coming just few weeks ahead. And then they can now decide, after consultation with Nigerians, you cannot set the tempo for him. You cannot set an agenda for him, because by the time you take any decision now that is irreversible, you are going to put the government in a very difficult mess.
Wale, do you know a little something we should interrogate here, Balaji? He talked about what the former Emir of Kano said. Okay, we have a call. Fidel is reaching us from Imo. Fidel, good evening to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you are discussing. I want to talk on the fuel subsidy.
Yeah.
The suspension is very, very appropriate, considering the fact that if it is done now, the hardship will even affect people at this transition period. It is better to allow the incoming government to do the needful. But then the money is collected for palliative, especially the $800 million. For God's sake, it should be used to reactivate a particular refinery. Focus on it so that there will be more supply. Of all, grant license to modular refinery operators and some artisanal refineries so that they will supplement and complement whatever the petroleum products that are available.
Thank you, Fidel.
We help people. Thank you.
Modular refineries and so on. But licenses had been given.
Yeah.
And so you are asking, is there sincerity from any part? Yeah. What I was going to say was, in relation to the Lamido Sanusi Lamido, is there anything like subsidy?
Well, we've always been told there's subsidy.
Okay.
We've always been told
and money is paid.
Yes, money is paid to some people. Whether they are doing what they are supposed to do with the money is left to all those who are collecting the money.
While a subsidy day,
I think we have confirmed through various probe reports, even by the National Assembly, that subsidy is a scam. It's just a scam.
But people are collecting the money.
People are collecting money, doing nothing. So it has become a racket, and nobody is even interested in saying, okay, how much funds, have we lost as a country? So I think the whole thing is a scam. And even when you are removing subsidy, almost every 3 years, when is that subsidy you are removing? When is it going to finish?
Finish.
2 years you come and remove subsidy. The next 3 years you come and remove subsidy. So I think it's just, it's an attempt to further exploit. Nigerians have become a commodity that people can just sell and exploit anyhow. Unless we have a good government that is determined to put his feet on the ground to deal with transnational criminals that are holding Nigeria, Nigerians. Yes.
Bolaji, the IMF. Okay. I hear a Yemisi is reaching us from Lagos here. Yemisi, good evening. Welcome. Yeah.
Yes, I'm to the one calling from Abuja, Sierra. I just want to tell the president to Daura and leave this country for us. He has put all of us in a mess. Part of it in a long time. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, subsidy.
Yes, you are talking about the $800 million.
Yeah, yes. I was going to also mention $800 million. Yes. I was going to also mention the World Bank has returned.
Yes.
So they are not done with us.
No, the World Bank is not done with us. Unfortunately, this $800, someone was analyzing the money and saying, how are they going to do it? How are you going to, it's a palliative fund actually. So are you going to give Nigeria 8,000 naira each? But the fact is that, where is this, how much, to what extent will this money solve the problem that will occur with the first subsidy removal, the so-called first subsidy removal? Do we have electricity that will galvanize the economy? We don't have it. Because if we are removing subsidy, it's not about giving money to people. You have to also ensure that you teach them how to fish.
Yeah.
Not about giving them fish, but how to fish. That's how to survive on their own, how to do things on their own, how to ensure that they are able to survive when the subsidy is eventually removed. Unfortunately, that's not likely to be the case because this $800 million, where is it going? To what extent will it help the situation on the ground? And apart from that, I even learned that about 53 million out of that amount was used for consultants. It is worrisome. $53 million?
Well, when I asked earlier on if we were damned, you are not sure what to tell me.
Yeah, I'm certain that we should be hopeful. If you look at the history of several countries all over the world, they passed through very difficult times until, real men came up to salvage, their country from stupor. So I have hope that we have a lot of good Nigerians at the appropriate time. I don't want to be hopeless. I still have confidence that Nigeria is going to be free. It may be a matter of time. I think just a question of time. No country has ever endured, repression, oppression for forever. Look at Rwanda. People thought it was a hopeless country, but somehow, unfortunately, they had to pass through a civil war. But we pray we don't go through a civil war before our leaders can see our tears with their eyes. They don't need to wait until we are shedding blood. We have suffered a lot, so they need to understand our pains and do the right thing.
We are joined by Thompson. Thompson is in Plateau State. I greet you, Thompson. Good evening to you.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Yes, I want to lay my voice on the issue of the subsidy removal. In the first place, I'm highly disappointed with Mr. President, Mr. President Buhari, who happens to be the Minister for Petroleum. Before he's coming to power, he keeps saying that there's nothing like subsidy. Subsidy is a scam. And I expected him, in the frontline man, that when he comes in, he will prove to us that really subsidy is a scam. But I've got to see that under his own regime, which is record of anti-corruption fight. Subsidy became even worse than even under the previous government that we say is a corrupt government. I mean, and look at the last issue of $800 million that will be collected from the World Bank. 20,000 million Nigerians will be households will be given.
Thank you, Thompson. Thank you, Thompson. Again, we are living in a very interesting times. Yeah. You know, you remember the late Dr. Taisho used to say something like, "May your road be rough.
Yeah. May you have a hard time this year."
Yeah. But we have had one hard time too many.
We have had too many tough times. And one thing we should also learn from Dangote, an individual, a company, is building a refinery, a whole country. Are we saying that it's bigger than the entire Southwest, bigger than the entire Southeast? So if Dangote can build refinery, how long are we going to continue to pound yam, pounded yam, that we produce the yam, we have the mortar here, we go and pound it in London.
You know, the man who called
us
from
crude oil, you now go and refine abroad and bring it in again.
The man who called us from Imo talked about modular refineries. Yeah. But I remember that licenses were awarded.
What happened?
What happened?
Nigerians will not allow things to work because of their interest. Some Nigerians, some powerful Nigerians, will not allow things that will be of benefit to everyone else to work because of their own selfish interest. Because they do not stand to gain from all this working.
Bolaji, is it an interest thing to say that the 4 refineries are down, but do you know the workers there are receiving salaries?
Yes, they have not been laid off because one day they will
maintenance.
They have to maintain.
They've sent so much turnaround of refineries.
They are always turning around the. They are always turning around the.
Is it by choice?
Well, I want to think that we know the right thing to do. We are just not doing it because you cannot say you have about 4 refineries across the country and none is working. You now have to bring in you get the crude here, you send it abroad, and then they refine it and send it back. What kind of country is that? So are we not ashamed of ourselves? Don't we have shame at all? These people that are saying they are our leaders, are they not ashamed at all that they are doing this? What kind of country are they presiding over?
And we have become a big joke.
Yeah, we are a joke
in the international community.
I can't understand it.
This same Nigeria. Same Nigeria.
Nigeria that people were begging, that were borrowing money for, that were example to the entire world in those days. It's very unfortunate. And I'm even ashamed on behalf of my country. I'm very much ashamed that we are like this.
All right, the second leg of the story is that we expect to make $5 million, I hope that's the figure, from non-oil revenue.
Yeah, if we are serious, if we are determined, non-oil revenue is a whole lot of funds can come in there. But yes, we are going to make billions. What are we going to do with the funds? What is our strategic plan for today, for tomorrow, and for the future? What are we doing about tourism potentials that lay all over the country? What are we doing about agriculture? What are we doing about our high seas, fishing? We still import fish from other, and we have, whole, vast ocean, with millions of.
We have a waterfront.
Yeah, waterfront, and then we import fish and all that. So it's very shameful, So we are going to make a lot of fun, but what are we going to do with that money?
Bolaji, and to think that in 2023 we are importing palm oil.
It is unfortunate. Was it not this country that gave Malaysia the palm seedlings? Yes. Unfortunately. You see, in this country, it was in this country that we were making waves without oil. In those days, it was a cocoa, it was agric, that was the mainstay of our economy then, before oil discovery came. But when oil came, everybody forgot the farm. The government that followed that coming had always said we go into non-oil sector, we go and promote it, we go and ensure that, unfortunately, these are all these things are all being the breach.
I always talk about it. It's like singing, like it's one song. Wale, do you remember that the second largest deposit of bitumen in the whole world
it's in Nigeria.
Is in Nigeria.
In those states.
And we are not exploiting it.
At all.
But we prefer to import bitumen.
Yeah.
That's man-made.
Just
Of course, it's man-made because we don't have the capacity. We are
right.
developing the capacity.
Bolaji, let's take, Anthony is reaching us from Lagos here. Tony, good evening to you.
This is Joe.
I greet you, sir.
Yeah. Why is it our president's body language behaving there? The government of the day, why are they behaving as if it was another party that is in power? It's a question because they were telling us they were doing what they are doing is showing that is another party entirely that is coming into power. That is my own thinking.
Yeah.
And what do you see?
I wonder too.
Yeah.
So
it's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And what he says is right.
Yeah.
Because if it's the same party that's coming to power, I think what you should have done is to ensure that the party that's coming to power, which is your own party, will have a seamless administration, come in and everything will go smoothly for them. Well, you can't be putting banana peels on the floor for them, which I felt the issue of subsidy removal and everything is because you should allow them to take their own decision. Allow them to do what they think is right. Allow them to ensure that we have a good economy. And you cannot teach them what to do because you have been there for 8 years. If you have been there for 8 years and you do achieve then what do you want to do within the next few weeks that you are living? Let the incoming administration do what is needful, what is right, and don't put a banana peel for them.
But Wale, my mind goes to Professor Chinua Achebe now, bless his soul. He wrote that book, There Was a Country.
Yeah.
I remember there was a country in this country.
There was a country.
But we can go back to that country. We can.
It's possible, like Wale said, it's possible, but we need men of goodwill, men that will know that men of vision. But unfortunately, do we always allow men of vision to always get there? Do we always? No.
Putting round pegs in round holes.
That's always be the problem of this country. And when people are complaining that this person is not doing the right thing, what do we do about it? Nothing. There have been complaints over the years that even in this good administration that look, there's some people that are not doing what they're supposed to do. Has anything ever happened? Nothing.
Wale, Bolaji is talking about one cankerworm in this country.
Yeah.
Impunity.
Yeah. If you have good leaders that show good examples, everything will fall in line.
As we always cry on this program, punish bad behavior.
Yeah. If you let your cabinet have people of impeccable character. If you are driving on the road and you see the policeman takes the wrong traffic, you will follow him. If the law man can break the law, so why should I obey the law?
Exactly.
So if you can get credit, people now waiting for the new government scrambling. But it is your responsibility of the government to look at credible people, honest people that can transform this country.
Also,
before it is too late.
Also, Nigerians, we should also be good citizens too. We should also be good
because many Nigerians don't love this country.
Exactly. We should also be good citizens because we are talking about the leadership. What about the followership too?
All right.
It's a very important thing.
I have a quotation here from French economist Frederick Bastiat. He said, when plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, over the course of time, they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral case that glorifies it. Let me thank you, Bolaji Tunji, for coming.
Thank you very much.
No less so, Wale Adewi.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Babajide is out of town. Unavoidably, he should be here next week. My name is Citizen Jones, and that will be all for today's program of Journalist Hangout. If you missed this episode, join us at 11 for a late edition. And of course, on Sunday, we have a 2-hour stretch for you from 1:30. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Bye-bye now.
It's a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Do you struggle with having an active and healthy lifestyle due to